Oh, Woody, Andy here again. Well, I'm back, hopefully making a few videos now. Hastings Rock's now finished, the 28-day broadcast and all the planning that goes before it is now finished. Yes, there's always things to tie up and we've got a meeting in a couple of weeks to make decisions and talk about the good points. A lot of post-mortem meeting, I suppose it is. I realised this time that I've been doing the sort of DJing since 2002. That took me by surprise, and I look back at the old sort of computerised records that I've got on here. You have a look through the folders and you find, oh, I've still got all that stuff. And I've been doing the local music show since about 2004, and I'll come to that in a minute. But also adding up all the hours that I've been on air, because this year was a bit of an up and down year. We had a couple of people who unfortunately had to pull out, and then somebody could do things, and there was a lot of swapping around, etc. So I ended up doing more programs than I would normally do. Loved doing it, and I was very happy to do that, and lucky to be in a position where I could actually say, oh, actually I can do another week of these programs, or I can do that, I can do this type of thing. In the end, I worked out that I'd been on air for a total of 56 hours during that 28-day period. The mathematicians amongst you will automatically realise that that's an average of 2 hours a day. That took me by surprise. Yes, as I said, I knew I'd done some extra programmes, but I wasn't aware that it was as much as that. A great time was had by all, and I think because of the fact that I'd done more this year and I've had more involvement beforehand, because obviously not working as I used to, and also being able to listen to the output far more than I have been able to, especially during the day, than I have been in previous years because I've been at work. I got more involved in it this year, and I've felt the sort of come down that you get after anything like that, especially that sort of real intensity that you have. Yes, there's a lot of build up, but especially the people on the committee like myself, there's lots of things to do, lots of things to arrange and sort out, etc. And sort of making sure those spinning plates are staying in the air type of thing. And also during the broadcast, the issues we had, in some ways this broadcast was more problematic than others we'd had before for various reasons, some of which I'm not going to talk about here. The lack of some presenters was one of them, but there were other things going on. So that sort of made you think, oh, it's a bit of a come down and all that sort of, because you work with all these people, you see all these people, and then, they're like your little family for a while, then you don't see them for a while. Some people you hardly see from one year to the next, and so it's good to get together with them, etc. And the listeners as well. There's a great camaraderie between the listeners themselves, but also between the presenters, the DJs and the listeners, once again, whether it be interacting online, on Facebook, all that type of thing, text, emails, or just on air, giving them mentions and referring to different things, but also when you meet them personally, and friendships have certainly been made by myself, and I know by others, because of our involvement with Hastings Rock, whichever side of the microphone you happen to be on. But one of the things that I noticed this year more than ever, and it has struck me before, but I certainly noticed it this year, was to do with the local music side of things. Now, I've been dealing, as I said earlier, with the local music on Hastings Rock since 2004, presenting the local music show, but even before then I was the person who was putting together the local music that went onto the main playlist, because we feature sort of the best of the local music and put it in our A-list, if you want to call it that, so it gets played regularly. So I've been doing that for a long time, but this year I noticed a bit of a change, that's about the sort of bias that there is towards local music. It's got better, and that's one of the reasons that I noticed it this year, because people actually said to me, whether it be fellow DJs even, or even other listeners in emails, comments or phone calls or whatever, people said to me, Andy, I never really used to listen to the local music show because I just presumed that because it was local music it would be rubbish and I wouldn't like it, but I've listened to it this year and I thought, wow, this is really good. This is something that I've known for a long time, that local music is as good as anywhere else. After all, as I've said to all these people, just about every band you can think of were local to somewhere. The Beatles were local to Liverpool, U2 were local to Dublin, or whatever. You can think of your own examples, and maybe even examples of world-class bands or world-famous bands or bands who've sold loads of records, CDs or whatever, that have come from your local area. So why do people automatically presume that just because a band is local they're not going to be very good? Yes, a lot of them are on the way up, a lot of them are starting out, but in our area, as I'm sure it is elsewhere, there's a lot of established artists, a lot of really good musicians out there producing really good music. Now, if few of you may know about this CD that I helped to put together at the end of last year, and that was all local artists in aid of a local charity. And the same sort of thing came about that, trying to sell it in some ways as well, trying to get people interested in it. So many of them sort of, oh, it's local music, it won't be any good. And when they buy it and when they hear it and they hear the tracks on there, and they think, well, actually, I've had friends of mine do that. They're trying to say, well, actually, that's bloody good music, that's really good, I like all the tracks on it, you know, and there's a great spread of music. So that's something that I've been really pleased with this year. So even DJs have said it to me, sort of some of the senior people on the station have said to me, you know, Andy, I hate to admit it, but I never really used to listen to your show. Because I didn't think it'd be any good, but I've listened to it now, I've caught a bit of it before in previous years and thought, well, actually, I'll give this the full 2 hours, you know, I'll give it the full service that it deserves type of thing. Yes, the music this year, I think, was better than ever. Maybe once again that's because I've had more time to help sort of sort it out and source it, I suppose. I've also had help from a couple of other people, but that's partly because I've had the time to do that type of thing as well. But this isn't brand new. The music that I've been playing over the past few years, I've been sort of passionate about it, and that's one of the reasons that I have been, and probably people have thought, oh God, here goes Andy again, he's talking about local music and how good it is and all that type of thing. Now people are starting to realise that here as well, and I'm getting to meet other people who feel the same way that I do. We have had a bit of an influx into the town of sort of certain people, maybe even more musicians, and I do feel that we are on a bit of an upsurge locally when it comes to local music as well. But it is good to know that other people out there, whether they listeners or local other DJs as well on the station, are starting to appreciate that local can be good. Just because it's local doesn't mean that it's rubbish and you should dismiss it and only look to the big, the capital city or the big cities to find something that's worth watching. And this cuts across, obviously, not just to do with music, whether it be any art form, authors or whatever it might be. Just because it's local doesn't mean that it's rubbish. It could be just as good, if not better, than anywhere else. It's just that for most of the time these people haven't been discovered. I'm lucky that I'm actually able to give local musicians a bit of an outlet, a bit of a screen there, shall we say, a platform that people can actually hear their music and maybe go along and think, oh, that's good. And I know the feedback I've got from the music that I've been playing this year has been very good. Certain bands obviously stand out better than others. We all have different tastes, but it's good that at least they're getting the exposure that they deserve, and who knows where that might lead. Have a look wherever you live. Scratch beneath the surface, and believe me, there will be some good musicians, some good bands, etc. Wherever you live, doesn't matter where it is in the world. Of course, there's stuff that isn't as good. That's only to be expected. But you may be surprised if you have a look, have a listen, keep your ears and your eyes open, and who knows what you might find. Might be the next big thing. You never know. Anyway, thanks for your time. I'll speak to you again soon. Goodbye.